Trojan fans, welcome to another edition of the Peristyle Podcast. I'm your host, one of your hosts, Ryan Abraham, publisher of USCFootball.com. We got the full crew in studio right alongside me. I can touch him now. He's like right here. Triple double if you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook. Thank you. Yeah, triple double. Connor Morissette's right next to me, and we have India Otto in the driver's seat running the show. Our intern, she's back here. She's doing her show. Yeah, Thursday nights, Tunnel Vision. But going to back help us out with the Peristyle Podcast as well. Well, welcome, India. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm here with Boss Man. I just learned Ryan's nickname, Boss Man, and it's the moment of the day for me. It's a great nickname.
And Connor, how you doing?
Doing well, thank you. Excited for another game Saturday.
So I was sort of like getting a feel for. We've done a couple Tunnel Visions, but we haven't done like the 3-person Peristyle Podcast for a little bit. So I was like, oh, crap, we got to do this. We got to do that. But yeah, we are, if you're listening to the podcast, regular platforms, they're still available. Apple, Spotify, I think the two main ones. Please leave us a 5-star rating on either one of those. And on Apple, you can leave us a review. And on Spotify, you can leave us some comments on actual individual shows. So let us know what you think of the show with India Otto and India Otto, Connor, and myself. You can email us, podcast@uscfootball.com for any questions. We got a lot of questions to get to today. Bunch of emails, which is great. Thank you. So podcast@uscfootball.com. And then the number 424-254-9141. If you want to shoot us a text or leave us a voicemail, I think we have 3 voicemails to play for you today. So we got a lot in store on that side of things. We do so want to, before we jump into anything, want to thank our sponsor, Trader Joe's. They've been amazing to us over the years, and jumping in there and getting back into. I was a little under the weather, so I go into Trader Joe's, and it's more like fruit kind of stuff and juices. Trying to be a little healthier. Connor and India, just I like to get sweets and things, but this was a little bit more okay. But I like to get that onion dip and then some of those salt and pepper fries. Not fries, chips and stuff. I like a lot, but tried to be a little bit more. I don't know. I guess healthy, but I'm not the best at that. Have you gone a trip in there lately, Connor?
I picked up some cantaloupe there, actually.
Yeah.
Very tasty. Did the Trader Joe's food help with your recovery? Are you back to 100%?
I think it did. Yeah, I feel a lot better. So
okay, good.
Have you been in India lately?
I actually have. I got some pomegranates from there like about a week ago or so. I love pomegranates, and they have a good little selection. So I got some fruit.
I do love.
It's delicious.
I used to work in the produce department when I was in high school, and I don't think I've ever bought a pomegranate, so that was one of those things.
Oh, it's so good.
Okay.
I feel like it's a very underrated fruit. Not like the actual like full pomegranate where you have to like crack it open and get the seeds. Like it was already like the seeds were already made.
Okay.
Yeah, the pre-made ones, but
Nice.
still delicious.
Awesome. Well, looking forward to the show today. As you guys know, what happened? USC opened up a can of whoop ass, I guess you say. Can I say that?
Yeah.
Sure, I can say
did.
whatever I want. Of
It's your
course,
show.
we always say that. Winning by 60. We're not going to really get into that too much, like a little bit of stuff. We didn't get to hear your thoughts, India. Were you just like, woohoo, this is fun?
It was nuts. As you said, it was a good old fashioned just ass whooping, which we like to see, especially in the home opener. I was really texting with Connor and Ryan. I wasn't at the game, but I was watching from home, and I was texting Connor, and I was like, so I maybe should have not put the Trojans under the spread because it was looking not good for Missouri State like before halftime, and could have never imagined they would put up the numbers they did. But it was really exciting for Trojan fans to see and get that out of the way in the first game, and obviously, not the greatest competition, and look forward to seeing what they do on Saturday, and hopefully they continue off of this momentum. But it was great to watch.
Yeah, so India's new to like the sports betting world, and I think when you have these big spreads, I mean, it's flipping a coin a lot of times. Like USC could have, like 45-10, they don't cover the spread, and that's you drudge them, and it still wouldn't be a cover. And when the pick sixes or the things that happen, you're like, oh, they're gonna have a hard time covering. Like teams going for 2 and missing it, or missing extra points. You're like, that's gonna matter later on. Pick sixes for like the heavy favorite, that's always a bad sign. And like Michigan was a similar favorite with New Mexico, and they won like 34-17, and you could tell like, okay, they're not going to be able to cover this one. With USC, they just sort of came out, scored every time, after the initial like 3 points that they gave up early, and then pick six and stuff, you're like, oh, man, yeah, this is not destined for USC to cover the spread. We all thought they were going to crush them, but spread covering, there's sort of an art there. But you were right on that one, Connor.
Yeah, and after last year, I wasn't right about a lot of them last year, so not to brag, but the only one in the room here who got that one right.
He's off to a good start.
I think, how do you not pick USC to cover against Georgia Southern after that first game?
Oh, my God.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely picking cover for sure now. I learned my lesson.
Yeah, it's going to be a clean sweep.
It's a similar spread, right? It's like 24.5 or something?
So it was 27.5
Okay.
on the DraftKings board that I saw later.
Yeah, we'll take a look and kind of give you our thoughts. Though we did get a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. I want to say, Fight On from T Pitcher, I think. Shotgun sounds like Jack from Jack in the Box commercials. Have you heard that one? I don't know.
Haven't heard it. 28.5 point favorite.
Wow. Okay. So similar.
That's funny about the
I'll pick
Jack
the
in the
over.
Box voice.
Shoddy. Yeah, that's interesting. We'll have to let him know. Shotgun's in town this weekend. Yeah, we got to make a decision actually Thursday night. So Shotgun was interested in being on the show. So you guys can do it, and I can sit out and just set it up, or if you don't want to make the drive down, so we'll figure it out. It's a game time decision. But we're gonna have some new blood on the show Thursday. We'll get Shotgun in here.
Is he around Sunday night too, or does he got to catch?
Yeah, he's gonna do both. He's gonna
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'll do one. And
Yeah, we can alternate or something. So
Sure.
I guess we don't need to decide here.
Patriots start Sunday. Maybe I can watch that game.
I know it's crazy. NFL week. Oh yeah, is it Sunday night?
No, it's 10 a.m. But you can't get it on TV. You got to go to the bar.
Oh yeah.
I can't come here after going to the bar.
You could. I mean, I don't know. I think India she did earlier today, so I don't know. I'm just kidding. Yeah, well, what do we got on tap, India? What do we got to talk about?
We got another exciting show for you guys. We'll be diving in, or Connor will be diving into some updates from Tuesday's practice. We've got some more drip check discussions. The Trojans' new pregame look, pregame fits has been generating a lot of buzz, so we'll talk about that again. And then just looking into Saturday's matchup versus Georgia Southern. There's going to be a lot of buzz at the Coliseum. Clay Helton's return. Lincoln Riley versus Clay Helton. Trojans versus Georgia Southern. So we got some exciting stuff.
Yeah.
I could start with some of the practice stuff. So
Perfect.
If you weren't able to watch instant analysis or read Chris's ghost notes,
Shame on you.
the biggest takeaways are injury stuff, and it was mostly good news where Jakeem Stewart and Floyd Boucard came out together, and Floyd was hyping up Jakeem. Jakeem was hollering. He was so excited to be back at practice after missing last week with a boot. So he is on track to make his debut on Saturday against Georgia Southern. I know fans are really excited, of course, to see him make his debut. Anytime you get that big-time defensive line recruit who's turned heads during fall camp, you want to see him in action. And I'm really looking forward to seeing him playing as well. So that's great news. We also saw cornerback Chasen Johnson walk out to practice. And again, we can't see anything in there, but it looked like he was on track to practice. Lincoln Riley said Monday that he was hoping to have Chasen Johnson back this week, so he'll be another name to watch in that cornerback rotation. I imagine that DeCarlos Nicholson and DJ Harvey will still start at cornerback, but Chasen Johnson will be in the mix there along with Braylon Conley and Marcellus Williams. I think 6 weeks from now, if everyone stays healthy, I would bet that DeCarlos Nicholson and Chasen Johnson are going to be the two starters, but we'll see. I know Braylon Conley will have something to say about that as well. Anthony Beavers was out there after missing the first week, and so was Caden Chittenden, the kicker. I'm not really sure if those guys will play. We've seen guys come out sometimes and then not be healthy for the game the next week. We heard kind of ominous things about them. Chittenden, Riley was hopeful that he would come back, but he didn't give a specific date, and then I thought I heard that Beavers had a hamstring thing that might have him out a couple weeks, so that'll be something to monitor. And then Alex Graham was the only guy who it looks like still out without practicing. So hopefully he can come back at some point because he did win that starting nickel job. Maybe he'll be at practice today. Who knows? But he wasn't out there yesterday, so not a great sign for his availability.
Good stuff. Yeah, when I was writing up the show notes to go into this, I was like, and guys coming back from injury, and it's like, does it matter all that much? It's more, but it does, I guess, a little. But I think it was fun to see so many contributors, and we talked about this on Tunnel Vision, where it's like it wasn't. If you want to try to get some grand evaluation out of this, not easy to do. But it's great for player development. And when you can empty the bench in the second half and let everyone play and have walk-ons score, to have King Miller score a touchdown. And I was texting and talking with former USC sports information assistant, Chris Houston, who is really good at this stuff. And USC still reaches out to him when they need some different notes. And we were looking back, because Shotgun originally brought it up, like, when's the last time a walk-on scored a touchdown? Not points, because you've had kickers score, but when's a walk-on scored a touchdown? And it was way back in 1994. And before that, they didn't even have record of another time of that happening. And scholarships, I think, been around since like the 50s or so. Maybe there were some early ones, but it's just not very common to have a walk-on score a touchdown. There was a lot of uncommon occurrences in this game. So it was cool that you get to see that. You get to help these players develop and get out there. So you weren't necessarily taking a ton away from the game, but certainly it helps us a lot to have opportunities for guys to get out there and see Husan Longstreet go 9 for 9, and run the football a little bit, and just really get your feet wet in actual competition. And then you thought this week might be a bigger step up, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But it's just whatever you could take away from week one, you got it out of the way. It wasn't close. There's just not a lot of negative things you can say about something like that, and just something that you want to build on. Like, you don't want to go out and beat Georgia Southern 35-31. Like, that would not be, you lose any momentum. Like, there's, as far as the polls go, I thought maybe USC would they look like a legit team. Coach's poll is always meaningless because it doesn't matter. SIDs start filling it out anyway. But the AP poll, USC moved up a spot. But I think it's going to be, if you beat Georgia Southern and you go on the road and beat Purdue handily, then I think you might see some movement. But it's kind of a gradual build. But I thought there would actually be a little bit of jump from the impressive performance that they had Saturday. But I get it. It's against a tomato can, but still, I thought they'd get a little buzz from that.
Well, didn't they move up a spot?
One spot, yeah.
That's good enough for me, I think, after that team.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't get the whole poll stuff. It's going to work itself out.
Yeah, it will.
You just keep winning, you're going to get ranked. It's such a waste of air. Just being like, oh, the SEC, how is Alabama still ranked and USC not ranked? Eventually, if USC's any good, they will be ranked. And
yes.
That, to me, is just, I've seen a lot of content about that. People really upset. Oh, there's this bias.
No,
Make it so there can't be any bias. Just keep winning, and it'll take care of itself.
It's a marathon, not a race.
Yeah, not a sprint.
Yeah, exactly.
And then on the walk-on thing,
suicides, for India, because that's what
conditioning was brutal. My goodness.
They should have had 2 walk-on touchdowns. Garrett Pomerantz scored 2. That would have been something. That absolutely, I imagine, would have been the first time they've ever had 2 walk-on score. If it's so hard to get 1 walk-on.
Yeah.
Impressive stuff that USC was able to just throw everyone out there, and the standard didn't really slip. Of course, in the second half when you have some backups in, it's not as clean as that first unit, but they just kept right on scoring, that's for sure.
I mean, there was no stopping, and you're just like, oh, they emptied the bench, and I'm like, well, there's a chance that USC won't cover, and it was like, nope. Walk-on touchdowns, those are all recipes for disaster. And if you're trying to cover a big spread, at the end of the game, the team basically has to shut it down, or in the second half, and USC did the opposite. They were like, oh, we got walk-on scoring. And it was like the Oprah meme of you get a touchdown, you get a touchdown. 9 different dudes got a touchdown. You're like, yeah, you're not covering that one.
And correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know the stats on this, but every running back scored a touchdown, right? When's the last time that's been done? Sanders, Jordan,
almost
King Miller,
everyone,
almost everybody.
Because Harry Dalton didn't play.
Okay.
And then there was a walk-on who got the last carry, McKelvey. He didn't score, but that was the last play of the game, so he didn't really get an opportunity. But 4 out of the 6 or 7 that they have scored, that doesn't happen often. And it was funny that a wide receiver didn't score a touchdown.
Yeah, that was weird. One, DJ Jordan did, but then it got called back because of the Corey Sims hold. But yeah, that was and for your starting quarterback to throw for 295 yards and no touchdowns to wide receivers. But seeing tight ends emerge, that's pretty cool. Like McCree,
3rd touchdown, awesome of his career, right?
Yeah, no touchdowns for tight ends at all last year, right? So to have a couple, Carson Tabarachi, who thought he might never play football again, scoring a touchdown. There was a lot of good, feel good sort of stories, and I guess one of the feel good stories. I know you wrote about this yesterday, Connor. This will be my
segue.
Segue.
Love it.
boss man transition. Drip check. I don't know if you know what drip check is, India. I was teasing
Sure do.
Connor on Sunday about me and Riley being the kids that know what drip check. I didn't know. See, I thought fit was like a thing, but that's now old, right? Now drip is better than fit or something.
To be honest,
I think if it's gotten
I'd
to you,
say
they're
fit
both
check.
old.
It's only got to me because this is a story we have to talk about.
I think it could be interchangeable. I usually say fit check, but kind of depends on your mood, I guess. Drip check, fit check, all the same thing.
Yeah.
What about outfit? What happened to outfit?
That's fit check.
It's
Like,
I love
it's
that
short.
Connor's just turned 30, old guy yelling at clouds.
He's like, why don't we just say the whole word? Outfit check.
Exactly.
I'm not, yeah. But it was like actually a thing for us because, we try to put up a lot of content from game days. And one of the things was, hey, the Trojan walk, guys come off the bus, high-fiving with fans that line up, and they walk down through the Peristyle, down the stairs, meet people and all that stuff. And they all were dressed individually. And some guys were like pretty extravagant. I mean, Dennis Lynch was one that always had a unique look, and there was a lot of that. And we would take photos, and it was kind of fun. And it was definitely more of an NFL style, if you remember, NFL players coming off the bus and walking through the locker room, and that's all changed. And I'll let you talk. I mean, Lincoln Riley addressed it after the game, and I think some of the players and stuff addressed it a little bit yesterday. So I'll let Connor, if you want to kind of give an update. And if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, India's got at least one of the photos up here of everyone walking off the same, matching warm-ups instead of fur coats and things.
Just the first thing, I got a lot of complaints like, why are you still asking about this? And let me answer. A, it's newsworthy. And B, when I tweeted about what Riley said after the game, that was by far the tweet with the most reach from the game for me. And then the story that I wrote last night is by far the most traffic story that we've had today. People care about the outfits. Not everyone does. Some people
Right.
are like, why are you asking? But a lot of people do. So why are we still talking about it? It's because it's a hot topic. USC won 73-13. People care about what happened before the game with these outfits. So we'll just start there. And a big part of this, Ryan, in India, comes down to USC in the offseason. They really wanted to increase the standard of the program. So they didn't feel like they recruited the high school ranks as well as they could have the past two cycles. Bring in Chad Bowden, boom, what happens? They have the number one class in 2026. They wanted to increase the standard there. They didn't feel like they were getting what they needed from former strength coach Benny Wiley, Lincoln Riley, Jen Cohen, Chad Bowden. They let him go, and they bring in Tremaine Carroll because they wanted to increase the standard of the strength and conditioning program. And so what this aligned outfit thing is all about, it's a small version of increasing the standard. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to win more games. We'll see. It certainly bodes well for that, I think, but nothing is guaranteed with that. But what it does is there's a new standard in the program, and they want everyone to be on the same page. The players and the staff, they felt the same way. Tremaine Carroll, I heard, was very instrumental in this change. It's just a small part of trying to increase the standard of the program, which I think is a good thing. Again, does it guarantee that they're going to win 10 games and make the college football playoff? No, but it's all part of a bigger process, which is they want to increase the standard of this program. And to me, I think it's a small but a step in the right direction nonetheless.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, it's team, and you're trying to make little changes. Is it is it worth a touchdown or anything? No, it's just you just want to make. We talked about this on Sunday. Make good decisions. I think this is a good decision. Get everyone on the same page. So I know some people are sick of hearing about it, but I think players seem to like it. The coaches like it. If it helps the team that you're rooting for think better about themselves and want to perform better and all that, like, do it. I think it's I think it's good. How did you guys come off and stuff, India?
Yeah, India, what do you think as a former athlete?
I think, I really liked it. It's interesting. I always used to look forward to seeing what the guys' outfits would be, and I kind of was looking on Instagram, and then I was like, oh wait, okay, something new. So I'm a big fan of it. As you said, it's ultimately not gonna win you games, but it's definitely steps in the right direction and this kind of attitude of we over me. And so for away games, we always, same kind of thing. We'd step off the bus in the same sweatsuits and things like that, always on away games. At home, you could kind of wear whatever. Basketball's a little bit different. Obviously, there's not like you're not coming in a bus like to go to Galen Center, so like we would come in at different times, so like nobody saw us, so we would wear our own clothes. But I want to point out something that Connor mentioned on the show last week, which I think is really interesting, and as a player, I think it reigns like specifically true. This idea of like Sam Heward, one of the backup QBs, and how excited he was for Longstreet and his great play. Especially first game playing college football, a lot of expectations and things like that, and he did great minus his one little fumble. But besides that, it was pretty flawless. And I think that right there is like culture. You want to cultivate a team that is excited for one another, and I think that kind of signifies a really good culture more than anything. And that also signifies like staying ready. You want to have a backup who stays ready and is engaged in the game. You never know what happens, and so I think to me that's more important than wearing the same clothes. But it all goes into this umbrella of culture. And I used to have a mentor of mine say that culture eats strategy for breakfast. You could have the greatest strategies of all time. You could be really prepared, but if you don't have a solid culture, team culture, player culture, leadership from the top down, your strategy is not going to work. So I definitely really liked it, and I think it's a great step in the right direction. And it seems like they've got a different, higher standard going around, and they played a great game. So keep it up.
Yeah, as long as they keep winning, I don't think people would care if they came out in Speedos like a water polo team or something.
That's kind of the underlying thing.
But to get to the winning thing, they're like, hey, it's a lot better if you're kind of coming out like that. So I think that's cool.
Yeah, and thanks for making that point, India. What I said on Sunday was that, like, obviously the dress code is an example of a good culture, but I don't really know exactly how much that would lead to winning. But what is something that I did see from that game was Sam Heward and Husan Longstreet. They were in a quarterback battle all offseason. Longstreet won, and Heward could have not been happy for Longstreet that he did well and could have been pouting in the back. And I think last year there were some culture problems in the quarterback room, and just it was very apparent rewatching that game from Saturday that the culture in that room is really good. So we'll see if Maeva ends up having a couple tough games and the pressure gets on him, that can kind of change the dynamic. But I don't anticipate that happening. I think as long as Maeva's healthy, he'll be the guy. I think we all feel that way. And the room, everyone sort of has their established roles. That's a little bit like the receiver room, and I think that's good for the culture, and that's good for the team morale as a whole.
Cool. All right, I think we could talk a little Georgia Southern.
Let's do it.
India, I don't know what your memories are of the Clay Helton era at USC. That was the first year or two, couple years? Or?
Yeah, so I was a freshman 2019. Obviously, that was riddled with the pandemic. But, yeah, I remember, us as a team, we would always go to the games, and we would sit, in the first row. And, a lot of us just wanted to leave, by halftime. And we weren't too excited about what was happening. And there was games that, we were losing that we shouldn't be losing, or it was close and it shouldn't have been close. I remember a lot of boos. There wasn't a lot of fans at certain points. I don't know if I remember specific games. I think a Stanford game I remember was not great. But yeah, not the best of memories with Clay Helton at the helm.
Yeah, that's probably a good way to put it, and very, I'd say polarizing, but it's mostly in one direction. But yeah, a lot of USC fans, it can be very triggering to just mention the name Clay Helton, especially because he is, and people are going to hate me for saying this, just a genuinely nice person. He's just a great guy. He would give you the shirt off his back. These are the situations that I think USC fans should blame leadership more than Clay Helton himself, because if USC decided to give any one of us in this room $5 million to coach a team, we're not saying no, we would do it, and we would probably all fail and whatever, and that's what happened to him. But he stuck around a really long time. He's someone that's good at trying to stay in a job as long as possible. There were some good moments. Obviously, winning the Rose Bowl was very exciting, and a Pac-12 championship the year after. But it just wasn't, as far as trying to be a blue blood program, he didn't have a blue blood kind of pedigree as a head coach, and a lot of fans really don't like him, and as far as setting the program back and all that. But anyway, this is a really unique situation to get him coming back with Georgia Southern into the Coliseum. And speaking of triggering, there was a Zoom call earlier this week that I can't tell you how many like Zoom calls and scrums and whatever. I mean, I've heard Clay Helton speak a lot, like, maybe more than anybody in history, like, well, it's close. It's up there. Anyone that's been on the beat the entire time that Clay was here, like, you've heard from him a lot. So I'm not sure who else was here the whole time, but I was, and there was a lot. And to some of it was like, oh my gosh, we used to go through these a lot. And I like Clay a lot. I got to get on the Zoom and actually ask him a question. He was like, he treated me like an old friend. He was like, hey, Ryan, hope they're well. Like, it was, super nice guy. He would do interviews with us. He was always accommodating. But there was always this kind of sort of the same sayings that you would hear a lot. And, this one was a tale of two halves. If you don't know, Georgia Southern came to California week 1 and played Fresno State. Fresno State, if you remember, it was actually a week 0 game. They went to Kansas and got boat raced. And then at home, and they have a good home field advantage. Like, Fresno State had more people in the stands than UCLA had at the Rose Bowl. So it's only like a 40,000 seat stadium, but it's a good atmosphere. I mean, it feels kind of SEC like when it's going. And Georgia Southern goes in there and looks good for the first half, but just gets, blown out in the second half, and just nothing's going right. And, Clay Helton, it was just like, it was a tale of two halves. And, he likes to say numbers. He would say, like, in the first half, we were 4 of 6 on third down. That's 66%. Like, he would just kind of throw numbers out there like it was like, okay, this means a whole lot. And you just never got like, well, why? What happened in the second half? Like, why couldn't you convert third downs? And there was a lot kind of going on there. But just listening to that Zoom again and even taking part of it was like, oh my gosh, how many years have I done this sort of before? But yeah, that was very weird. And I think it's going to be weird for people in the athletic department, just anyone that was around for the Clay Helton era. This is like going to be really strange, but he's actually staying in Oxnard, keeping his team in California. They've talked about going to the beach, maybe do Disneyland or something. And then Friday, he really spoke about how much like shock and awe the Coliseum can bring to opposing fans, and saw like the look in people's eyes when they came down the tunnel for the first time. So he didn't want his team to do that on Saturday. So he's bringing them out on Friday to walk the grounds and everything. But he definitely holds the Coliseum in high regard, and that's sort of like the plan. But just to see what Fresno State did to this team, like, I'm expecting USC to do a lot of damage here. Now, that could be something for playing your second game, because Fresno State already got to play a game, and you sort of, even though they got blown out, they actually went on the road, had an experience, got to play, where this was Georgia Southern going on the road for the first time, similar to what Fresno State had to do. So now they have some experience. So maybe they play better in game 2. I don't know. We'll see. But that's sort of just kind of my feel going into this one.
I kind of think that if you're a non-power 5 or 4 team and you're not like a Boise State or a Tulane, like, if you have anyone worth a damn, they're not going to be on the team anymore because they're going to transfer.
They get poached and stuff.
Georgia Southern under Helton's done a nice job of not losing too many guys, but they lost their starting linebacker to Nebraska. They did have some guys leave. Like, I expect another blowout. They had a tough time moving the ball on offense, especially in the second half against Fresno State. They couldn't stop the run in the second half against Fresno State. USC's defense, a bunch of those guys are chomping at the bit to show Danton Lynn why they deserve to start. So they're going to be playing with their hair on fire, and we know USC's running back room is the strength of the offense. In the second half of that game, Georgia Southern really couldn't stop the Fresno State rushing attack, led by Rayshawn Luke, who went to St. John Bosco. I'm sure some USC
Speedy
fans
Luke.
remember him. Ryan remembers him. So, yeah, it's
USC
just
recruited him, right?
Yeah, a little bit. And then in the portal, they were maybe going to take him if they went the route of taking a developmental guy, but he ultimately goes to Fresno State. Seems like it was best for both sides. So I just see it as a mismatch. I still have to go back and I've seen the highlights, but I want to go back and watch the full game, Georgia Southern, Fresno State. But I just have a hard time after what I saw Saturday saying, like, oh, this will be a test. Like, Georgia Southern will be better than they were last week. They totally ran out of gas in the second half, so maybe it'll be a situation where USC and Georgia Southern, they start. It's a little tighter than people expect, but over the course of a 60-minute game, I just think USC has way too much talent to be close in this game. I've been talking to some people from Georgia Southern that the team has really small edge rushers, so this should be a game where USC's offensive tackles have a nice performance and just totally outman the defensive line. It's a little bit like Missouri State, where they're looking for anyone that they can get in the trenches because it's just such a high demand position. So I think USC wins big, and I think we'll be having a lot of the same conversations we've had this week, next week.
Yeah, 351 rushing yards for Fresno State.
Yeah.
So that's
what's Wayman Jordan going to do?
Yeah, like that's a lot. And I'm not, I've been trying to poke around in the athletic department to get a feel. Let's just let them know. I'm like, how, obviously, like the world would implode if somehow Georgia State beat Georgia Southern beat USC. Obviously, like they would have to end the football program. Like they just couldn't. There's nothing like this. This would be the end of days. Like whatever. That's not going to happen. But I think they understand. Like from the messages I've exchanged with people that work there, like they get it. Like you can't. This is the one. Like if you had one blowout, the first two, you would want this one to be the blowout. Like there are fans that just want a beatdown to be put on Clay Helton, just like make a statement. I mean, India. I don't know if you remember, like, when USC was looking to replace Clay Helton, and James Franklin's name would come up, who did amazing things at Vanderbilt. I think they were only ranked 3 times in 100 years, and twice it was under James Franklin. The fact that he lost head-to-head to Clay Helton made him a non-starter for a lot of people. Like, he can't be good. He lost a game to Clay Helton. So in their minds, they're like, it doesn't matter that has Penn State top 10 all the time. Like, nope, we're out. So there is disdain for, and I think there's some that are just good with the man, but just his presence as a football entity, you can't look bad against it. Like the shadow of that, you can't. So I think the people at USC sort of understand this is a run it up and don't feel bad about it. Like this, if there's moral victories for Clay Helton in this one, fans are not going to be happy. I don't know if you agree or disagree.
Oh yeah, you can't have any moral victories this week if you're Georgia Southern. No way. You gotta put them in the ground. Yeah, I'm with you.
The Trojans and Lincoln, I think, are gonna put the foot on the gas extra hard.
And Lincoln Riley's talking nice, as we expect him to, talking about how Clay, they see each other at the Pebble Beach charity golf tournament every year. They met recruiting. But what does Lincoln Riley think about this matchup? He thinks, I'm going to bury this guy.
Yeah. And I think there's, a lot of times there's not incentive to, especially because he is such a nice person. You want to call, I don't know. This is one where you just have to be I'm sorry. Boo. Just keep I don't mean to, sorry. But it's if you have the opportunity to put a beat down on Georgia Southern, I think USC has to do it. There's just so much animosity and bad blood associated with that. When years ago before Pete Carroll got there and Paul, I covered Paul Hackett, and oh my God, people were just really not happy about it. If he came back as the coach of Arizona or something at some point, they would want to bury him. And as nice, and I like Clay. I've contemplated texting him, say hello or something, but it was cool to interact on the Zoom. But I just know, for the health of this program, they're trying to get back to things a Clay Helton sort of bump in the road would just set things back a lot. So I think for USC, my point is, I think, and India said it too, I think the team kind of understands, this is one you got to, this is, if you're a military officer, you're full dress or whatever. You're not wearing your work day. This is what you'd wear to the Sunday ball or something. You're going to go out there and try to look as good as you possibly can.
Yeah, there's no mercy, especially when you think about it. Lincoln hasn't had the smoothest of, time at USC either, and so I think even coming from him, he wants to probably put an extra beating on Clay, having replaced him as USC's head coach. So there's a lot of different agendas and competitiveness at play, I think, and motivations.
Yeah, and it's for USC. They're motivated because they're trying to hey, we beat someone by 60 and didn't really move in the polls. So all right, let's do it again and show them like it's like you know shot off a rocket or something, and then we're like, oh, and then like, all right, well, we got to shoot off a bigger one, you know, and it's hard to get bigger than what you did week 1, but it's a better opponent. This spread couldn't be big enough for me this week. Like after seeing what they were able to do last week and knowing the sort of motivation that you wouldn't always have for like a 500 group of 5 team, man, like, this could get ugly. But, you know, and Georgia Southern's defense, like I do feel like you have to travel all the way across country, play your very first game against a team that played the week before, got beat bad, and is motivated. You know, there's a lot you can build on, and they're not traveling back. They're not going to have a huge flight before this game. They're staying in Oxnard, so they're doing a lot of things to try to make it so they're going to have a better effort in week 2, and USC has to do everything possible to not allow that.
And it's not exactly a guarantee that USC will just kill Georgia Southern because of this, but I do think there's levels in college football. And Fresno State goes on the road in week 1 to Kansas, gets beat pretty good, and then they host a team who's not in the Power 4. You'd think maybe level playing field, and then they just rout them in the second half. And now the team who was routed by the team who got routed by Kansas is coming to USC. Like, it just doesn't compute in my head how this would even be a competitive game based on what Georgia Southern has done so far. And these guys have been on the road for so long. I don't think that really helps them. I think the fact that they've been out here for so long, those guys are probably itching to get back to Georgia.
I would think. Yeah. I don't know, India, if you ever like long travel like that, but they're staying there a week. I mean, there could be distractions like, oh, we're going to the beach, we're going to Disneyland or whatever, you know, like, is it vacations time instead of like, hey, let's have a good showing for our coach who spent a lot of years here. I don't know. What do you think?
I was going to bring that up. I think it depends on like your team and again, the culture. If you get distracted by the distractions of like going to the beach or having some like sort of team meals or going out, to Disneyland and you're doing a lot of walking, like that doesn't bode well. But I also think on the flip side, like having been an athlete, and like for me, Lindsay Gottlieb, she used to coach at Cal. And so we would go and play Cal, obviously, in the Pac-12. And so there was definitely an extra level of, like, motivation for us. And obviously she still has a, great relationship with the Cal people. But there was an extra motivation for us to, like, okay, like, we want to, like, really come on and, like, kill Cal, for her and stuff like that. But I think that's an interesting thing. Like, I don't know how much his team respects him and the coaching staff. But, if they come out with, an extra fire and extra motivation, like, it doesn't matter the level of talent and things like that. Like, it's hard to beat, people who don't want to quit and, have an extra motivation that they're playing for and will run through a wall. Obviously, the talent difference between SC and Georgia Southern is incomparable, but that's an interesting, factor is, like, there a scenario where it's a little like, oh, it's a little close, like, going into the second, quarter or things like that, where they're just playing, a crazy game that nobody anticipated for their coach and his return to SC. So you never know, but I do anticipate another beat down from the Trojans. But again, crazier things have happened.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point too. Like, now that's different because you're moving up. You get a promotion or whatever if you're going from one program to another, and as opposed to getting fired from the place and essentially getting a demotion and coaching at a lower a group of 5 school instead of a Power 5, blue blood. But yeah, that could definitely be a motivating factor. I mean, a lot of people, a lot of the players we would talk to at the time when they played for Clay Helton, they loved him. He was just such a nice guy. And I think, some of that would wear off later on. You'd see like, yeah, we just weren't put in a position to win all the time. But I could see some guys getting motivated for this.
Absolutely. I also think the fact that there's so much competition on the roster is a good thing in a game like this. Ideally, when you play the big dogs, you want to have your depth chart pretty much set in stone. But the fact that, like, there's playing time up for grabs on the defensive line, at cornerback, at offensive line a little bit, where some guys want to prove, hey, like, just because I didn't win the starting job, I got something to prove. I'm going to go out there and try to show the coaching staff why I deserve to start. At the third receiver spot, at tight end, like, all across the roster, guys are pushing for more playing time. In a game like this, that's huge, where the guys are just going to be extra motivated, even more hungry, because they want to put on the best possible showing to get on the field down the line. And that might seem like it's always a good thing, but if you're playing a better team and you're still trying to figure some stuff out, I think it's ideal to just have your lineup kind of set in stone. But the fact that USC has these first 2 games, it can be an extension of training camp. I don't think that helps Georgia Southern in this case, where people will be extra hungry in this game because they're still fighting for spots come Big Ten play.
India, Blackie Chan had a comment just recently. If you want, he said, told me not to call Clay a nice guy. If you want to put that up there, kind of do a little quick discussion. It should be one of the later, like just a couple.
I see it. Yep.
Yeah. So this has been common. I was used to. I mean, this happened a lot when Clay Helton was coaching. If I said he's a nice guy or he's a good person, there were people that are just like, I don't care, or like, no, he's not. He's the worst, and and he's not. But this was a very sort of like triggering thing. And I'm curious what you guys think, because there have already been some threads on the Peristyle over at uscfootball.com. If you're not a member, we actually have a 60% off sale right now, so go check it out. If you want to sign up, this is the perfect time to do it. I've got texts from different people that were signing up again, and they're like, oh my God, there's so much content. I'm like, yes, you'll love it. There's going to be people with a boo. If there's an opportunity to boo him, they're going to. And there's not always an opportunity to boo the opposing head coach. It's not like he's announced or whatever. And if you remember, late in Clay Helton's tenure, they sort of avoided even mentioning his name or putting him on the video board at the Coliseum whenever they could, because if you called attention to your head coach, there were going to be boos. So it was almost like you were avoiding telling people what the head coach of this team, which is not the situation you want to be in. So I'm sure there's going to be some boos, and when they come out of the tunnel, there'll probably be extra boos. Now, normally it's just for the team, but I think people will know that's really for Clay.
It's all encompassing.
Yeah, so I'm curious what you guys think is going to happen, but if you can't convince people that, like, hey, he's a nice person. Like, if people have their thoughts on it, I'm not ever going to try to change anyone's mind on this anymore. I don't care. This is the last time I have to ever deal with this, hopefully. But if I bring up anything up like that, people are going to get upset. I don't know what you guys think about Clay.
Well, he was a nice guy. I mean, I remember, like, in the summer, we would sometimes do workouts. Yeah, sorry, guys. He was. We would sometimes do workouts at JMC, and he always, would walk by and say hi to us and, be engaging and present with people. And, he was a nice guy. Like, I'm sorry. I wasn't the greatest coach, but he was a nice guy. Like, two things can be true at the same time. But I think he's definitely going to get some boos. I think probably the most when they're running out of the tunnel. But I also think that some people will, probably cheer and things like that. But I think for the most part, he's going to hear quite a lot of boos.
The professional in me, the reporter, would clap. The fan in me would boo the hell out of him.
Yeah, so there you go.
Wow.
Yeah, he's going to get a lot.
Yeah, was it more of a problem with the administration who just kept bringing him back? Yeah, but doesn't matter to me if I'm Mr. Fan. I'm booing the crap out of him. He ruined my team.
Yeah. And, they're talking in the chat like, it doesn't matter if he's nice, he was bad as a coach. Yeah, and then, I mean, he wasn't trying to be bad. I think the biggest shortcoming for Clay Helton that I would say is if you look up his dad's record as a head coach, it might be the worst head coaching record ever, because you want to look up Kim Helton real quick, his head coaching record? I'm sorry, I don't mean to give you a task, but I think his dad was really good at keeping jobs, even if you didn't have a winning record. And this was a different era.
24, 53, and 1.
So imagine a head coach having the opportunity to lose 54 games.
That's crazy.
With only winning 24. Like that, you got to work to be able to somehow keep your job. It is definitely a different era. And I think that's what kind of Clay learned from. And even when he was hiring people, I felt like you were hiring less threatening people that wouldn't be able to usurp your power and take your job. So then you're not doing yourself any favors, because you just weren't going out and getting the best of the best at USC. You were sort of getting guys that were pretty good, but they're not going to take my job, and I think you were able to play, his agent was good and was able to play Lynn Swann for a fully guaranteed extension that no one was clamoring to hire Clay Helton. There's no reason you needed to do that. So, ADs get, fleeced by agents all the time. he was very good at keeping the job, and Cook kept it a lot longer than he should have. And I think that's why some of the animosity is there. But if you're him, like, you're trying to keep the job anyway. But I would have rather him just try to win, do whatever you can to win games, and that will keep your job. But it felt like, and maybe this, the culture was like, well, do whatever I got to do to keep this job as long as I can, as opposed to go out and just crush it, and then you'll be retained because you're crushing it. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Keep the main thing.
Yeah.
And you'll get the results you want.
One thing that's kind of bothering me this week is people are comparing Clay Helton at USC to Kalen DeBoer at Alabama, and it's like, well, they're just going to get rid of DeBoer, and that's what we should have done with Helton. And people are saying, oh, the media treats Alabama differently. They hold them to a higher standard than they hold USC. And I would just say, like, even if that's true, like, Lynn Swann had the opportunity to get rid of Helton. The reason that the standard wasn't upheld was because of the athletic director. It has nothing to do with the media. It has nothing to do with the media putting pressure on Alabama higher-ups to fire DeBoer, them saying, oh, you should keep Helton. The standard that USC was at was because Lynn Swann decided to keep this guy around. The media has nothing to do with any of that. That is something that I've seen a couple times, and it's like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
No, there's failures on Pat Hayden's side, like giving him the full-time job after beating UCLA. Then he goes off and loses 5 of his next 6 games. So you didn't need to give him the full-time job then.
Exactly right.
And then he gets, boat raced the next 2 games. But he felt like, and the administration was the problem.
Exactly.
You had to make him the interim head coach twice because you had Lane Kiffin getting fired on the tarmac and the failures there. And then, Ed Orgeron not being retained, Ed Orgeron, and then, you had Kiffin and Sark with failures, and he was just the guy that was sitting there like, hey, I'm still here. You're going to get to be the intern coach twice, and the second time, you were the second intern coach because they didn't give, they didn't give Orgeron the job. And
but it's the media's fault USC was not up to their standard. No, it's incompetence from the higher-ups.
Yeah.
That's why everyone says, like, oh, we talk about Jen Cohen too much. She's doing an incredible job. It's so different than what it used to be.
Yes.
And it's easier to be doing a better job than they were doing. But don't take that for granted because it went Pat Hayden's, like Swan. Like, it was a bunch of crap in a row. And now things are getting figured out and changed. And I do think Jennifer Cohen deserves a lot of credit because of just how bad things used to be.
Yeah. I mean, Lynn Swann really...
Applause for Jen.
Yeah. Lynn Swann was like, he came from the Pittsburgh Steelers culture. I mean, he should never have been the AD. Like,
He didn't have his office here? Like, what a joke.
It was terrible. He was like, whoa, like the Rooneys just, you have continuity. It's like you have continuity when you hire, I'm a Steeler fan. Like, I remember 3 coaches. I'm old. Like, you Chuck Noll and Cowher Power and then Tomlin. And it's like, that's all we've had since I was a kid, And so, but if they're really good and you do a good job hiring them, that's why you keep them. Not Clay Helton was hired because you had incompetence that he was like the best option sitting in the room, and that's why you got it. Like, that's not why you keep someone long term. That was just he was here like, hey, I'm here. Like, I know you got everything's blowing up around you. I'll be stable, and he was, And but that's when you hire a guy for that reason. That's not the long, and fully, it's just terrible. We need to rehash all this stuff, but it's obviously triggering for me because I had to deal with this for years on the site, and so I get why fans are upset. And as much as I like Clay as a person, like I feel like USC should just go, no mercy in this dojo on Saturday.
Win by 70. I hate to interrupt, but we have a super chat.
Ooh.
Let me pull it up.
You want to give us a sound effect?
Yeah, I sure can.
I know you were jonesing for that.
I know, I was excited for that all day. From Only Natties at USC, I'll boo the heck out of Helton too, Connor. $2. Thank you.
He's not alone.
Yeah, you're not alone in that. Certainly not alone in that. There'll be a lot of boos for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's enough on Clay Helton. Sorry if it went a little off the rails there, but should we take a break?
Yeah, we'll take a quick break, and we'll be back in 1 minute. All right, we're back. We're back here on the Peristyle Podcast, and we have a lot of questions today and a couple voicemails, so we'll get into them.
And if you're watching us live on YouTube or Facebook and you have a question, just put question in the chat. India can star it too. And we all have a bunch of voicemails and emails to get to, but I don't know if there's any other questions that have come through the chat yet.
Yeah, there have. There's
Okay.
a couple. Should we do those first? You
No,
wanna do
no.
those?
Let's do the
voicemails.
Yeah, let's go.
All right, our first voicemail.
Hi, this is Richard from Eagle Rock, formerly La Crescenta. I just want to have a question for, frankly, this could go to anyone, whether it be Harvey Hyde, the Two-Star Podcast, the Helium Boys, Ryan himself. But I'm just curious, when did you guys realize that Clay Helton wasn't going to work out? By the way, you guys are kind of I consider you guys the gold standard of USC podcasts. You guys do a great job. But Clay Helton wasn't the gold standard of anything. So when did you guys realize that it wasn't going to work out? Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Richard.
I'll defer to you, Ryan.
Yeah, since you weren't covering the team at the time. So I was very critical right when Pat Hayden, I just, made him the permanent head coach. He held a press conference in the McKay Center. We all go in. He gets up on the podium and makes his declaration of why, so USC beats UCLA, and he's the interim coach. You still have, I think, the Pac-12 championship game left and the bowl game, if I'm not mistaken. And he goes up there to the podium like a king and just gives the decree of why Clay Helton's going to be the head coach and walks off. Like a lot of media there, doesn't even take a question. And so we get him. I remember I was next to Bruce Feldman. We're in the hallway to get out of the room, like the big meeting room that they have, cameras. It's really tight, and asking him questions. And he looked like, what? It was like, wait, what? Didn't you hear? I declared that Clay Helton's the head coach. Why are you questioning my decision? And it was this weird. I'm like, I'll never forget it. I'm like, are you kidding me? So he didn't even want to be checked at all, or just was like, hey, I'm your leader. I told you this is going to be the guy. Why are you asking me questions about it? Just go about your merry way and understand that I've made the best decision for all of my people. That's what it felt like. And I think that's when he lost 5 of the next 6 games, losing to Stanford, losing to, I think, Wisconsin in the Holiday Bowl, and then starting the season blowout by Alabama, losing to Utah, and maybe Stanford again, and a Utah State win in there. So it's something like that, if I remember correctly. And to be fair, at that point, the Utah, I think, was the last loss, and they that game they put Sam Darnold in as quarterback, and then they win the rest of their games and go to the Rose Bowl and beat Penn State in one of the classics of all time. So even that, it was the people that were there's usually people that are just pro whoever the coach is. They were getting destroyed as he lost 5 of 6 games. And then it turned around and they win it all. They win the Rose Bowl and all that. And it took a weird thing because that year, Washington and Colorado played for the Pac-12 championship. USC beat both of those teams, but they weren't, because they lost the 2 early games. I think it was Stanford and Utah. They weren't in the Pac-12 championship game, but they did get selected over, Colorado ended up losing the championship game, but USC got in the Rose Bowl over Colorado. Washington made the playoff, whatever. If you guys remember all that stuff. Even then, I was like, yeah, I don't think this is going to be okay. And then the next year, they win the Pac-12 championship, but the real teams that they played, that's what they lost. They had Ohio State just pushed them around, and Urban Meyer wasn't even trying. So even then, that's the high watermark of the era, the Clay Helton era. I knew it wasn't going to work then, and since then, obviously, it got a lot worse.
I think the answer is right away.
Pretty much right away. When you hire someone for the wrong reasons, and you could see that he was hired for the wrong reasons, it's just it might work for a little bit, but this isn't the right thing, and yeah. So and then the whole having another terrible athletic director right after Pat Hayden with Lynn Swann, and having him give a fully guaranteed extension, you're just oh my God. He wanted, the day after they signed the extension, I forget who they lost at Notre Dame or something like that. People wanted him fired, and he's I just hired the guy to extension. I think Lynn Swann realized how bad he screwed up, but agents usually can just manipulate ADs, and I think in this case that's what happened. Sorry for the long answer there.
All good. We got 2 more voicemails. This is from Eddie.
Hello, Trojan Podcast. Hey, this is for the flagship show. It's Eddie from Orange. This question is for Connor. You had the team winning 3 games just by looking at spring practices. I think you said if the team, hit the ceiling, it might get 5 wins. After this first game against a, let's say, lower end group of 5 school, group of 6 school, I guess. Do you still think the team can win 3 games? Do you want to downgrade it to 2? What are your thoughts, Connor? Also, please grow out the beard. I think USC is undefeated once you get to lumberjack status. So if you could do that, that'd be great for everybody involved. Eddie from Orange.
Thanks,
Thank you, Eddie.
I actually have him now at 1 win. I don't think they'll get another one. No, he's being funny. Thank you for the call, Eddie, and we'll see if the beard comes back. I think, Ryan, we both had 8-4 before the season, and we both agreed Sunday night that even a big win over Missouri State didn't necessarily change our opinion too much. But I will say I've seen some of the analytics stuff that's out there. I think the T-Ford rating system and the ESPN FPI, they gave USC a bump, and some of those metrics have USC more likely than not to win. Like the most likely outcome is 9 games, and maybe there's a chance at 10, and 8 still in play too. But there are some numbers out there, like for the people who are saying, "Oh, USC looked better than I thought." There is some data out there to back you up, but I can't quite get there after a Missouri State game.
Yeah, I feel better about, if they went 10-2, I wouldn't be like, oh, that's kind of shocking. Just from that, I'm like, I feel like we talked about this on Sunday, a lot of good decisions were made, and we saw a lot of good results. If they take a step back this week, then you're like, all right, I'm still where I am. But yeah, I'm more confident today that there's upside to the 8-4. I'm a lot more confident that they're going to get the over on the 7.5, because Vegas still has USC. They had 7.5. That doesn't change now. It's a pre season bet, but yeah, I feel pretty confident that the 8-4 is closer to the floor now, and then see what you go from there. But we've been wrong before. We'll see. Thanks, Eddie, for that.
Yeah, that was
Thank
funny.
you, Eddie.
Connor did not pick them to win 3 games, though.
This is our last voicemail of the day from Rick.
Hey, Peristyle. This is Rick from Vista. Obviously, we had a great win. I don't know if you're going to get this until after the next game with Clay Helton, but my question is about the coaching. Is it safe to say that we have one of the best coaching staffs in the nation? And at what point is the coaching staff going to be able to coach the players up? I think that was one of the biggest problems we've had, is that we're not getting a lot of players drafted into the NFL. And that's a big determinant that kids look at. And I don't think it's been that way. But at what point is it going to take for this great coaching staff to get these players coached up to where they're NFL potential stars? So I'm just curious, how good is this coaching staff? Is it really that good? I always like to hear your thoughts.
You hear people in the program talking, and there's a lot of, maybe some of it's hyperbolic, but just they really like stuff. I think it's a very, especially on the defensive side, I think it's excellent. I think they've made some really good hires in the last couple of years all over the place. And you got Lincoln Riley as a play caller that's been, I know there's been some criticism, but he's got some results to the crazy stuff that, the 5, the NFL starts this weekend and 5 quarterbacks were his, they're starting in the NFL out of 32. It's pretty crazy. It's not like he's been a head coach for a really long time, but yeah, I think the staff is really, really good. I think they've made some tweaks, and I think it's a high level staff.
I do too, especially when you look at some of the changes that happen in college football, where Ohio State, Matt Patricia, the defensive coordinator, looked pretty good against Texas, but Ohio State lost some coordinators. Notre Dame lost their defensive coordinator. Penn State added Jim Knowles, their defensive coordinator, went to Clemson. There were a lot of, not really head coaching movements, but there was a lot of assistant coach movements that, I don't want to say benefited USC, if we're it did, but if we're just comparing coaching staffs, we'll see what happens on the field, of course. A lot of those teams will still be really good. But if you were just to look at every coaching staff and give them a grade. I think USC's went up this offseason due to keeping Lynn and due to some of the other changes around the sport. So, yeah, with me, I do really think that this staff is a high-level staff, and I do think that it's elite in terms of the NFL draft thing. A lot of that is recruiting, where you can build up some lower-ranked players like a Devin Tompkins, but the best way to get guys drafted is to recruit at the highest level. So that's coming along a little bit. And I've been critical of Lincoln Riley on this show in the past. I think he's shown this offseason that he's willing to change, which is, of course, huge. We all wanted to see that from him. You're only as good as your head coach, though, and I think that's kind of where I'll wrap up with it. Like, last year was an outlier for him in terms of what he's done historically on offense, and USC being in a new conference absolutely played a part in that. So I am willing to give him a pass, but like if USC has similar offensive numbers to last season and it's their second year in the Big Ten, I think the staff on offense will have a lot of potential, but they're not realizing that potential. And then I do think the defensive staff is really good just on its own, no matter what happens. So I hope that all makes sense.
Yeah, and I think you saying that the staff got better, I mean, two key factors in that. One, D'Anton Lynn was pursued heavily by Penn State. Now he's one of the highest paid coordinators in the country. And the fact that Penn State didn't get D'Anton Lynn but got the national championship defensive coordinator, it shows you something that USC stepped up to pay him. And the fact that you feel the staff got better, and I agree, that's with your linebacker coach becoming a head coach at the group of 5 level, Matt Entz. Usually you'll lose coaches like that. It's like, okay, if you lose your defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, whatever for head coach, you lost a position coach to become a head coach, and still were able to, keep par with that position with Rob Ryan coming in. So, yeah, I think when you get assistant coaches getting big-time jobs, that matters a lot. Like, we were talking about like Clay Helton. He just didn't make really good hires. He made one. The best one he made was Dylan McCullough coming out of Indiana, who had like NFL dudes that he recruited from against SEC country players come to Indiana, and they made it to the NFL. And he hired them. It was like out of the blue, like, wow, you just end up hiring like a really good running backs coach that you had no connection to. And he only stayed for 1 year. And I think some people looked at it as a negative, like that's a positive. Like you had Matt Entz for 1 year, he's a head coach at Fresno State. Like boom, like go get another guy like that. Like that's what you want. So I think that just shows it's really good the hiring practices that you went out and got Entz, who was a head coach and won 2 national championships at FCS level. 1 year he's gone, he's a head coach at Fresno State. Boom, that's a feather in your cap, in my opinion. Now go get somebody else that's really good.
One other note on the staff. It's a huge year for Zach Hansen. We've talked a lot about having questions about USC's offensive line. He's in his first year as offensive line coach. If that line is better than I think, and he goes out and shows that he's a really capable and good offensive line coach, then that's another boost to the staff. So that's, to me, it's kind of the one spot on the staff where it's like, let's kind of see how it goes. But everywhere else, I feel pretty confident in the rest of that group. And I don't want to take anything away from Hansen. It could be really good. I just, haven't seen it yet. He was the tight ends coach, and let's see. That's the one question mark with me.
Yeah.
I echo everything you guys said. Coaching trees matter, so looking at coaching trees is important.
Yeah.
We're going to get into some questions we got from some emails. So I'll get into that right now. First one. Appreciate all your hard work. You're my favorite USC coverage. I'm hoping Connor might ask Coach Riley a question if the opportunity presents itself. Most successful coaches, even those that are offensively minded, usually elect to defer if they win the coin toss. Coach Riley has almost always chosen to receive the ball immediately if given the choice. Now that the defensive side of the ball may be our strength, will he consider deferring to the second half? I hope so. It definitely seems like there is advantage to getting the ball first in the second half. Thank you, V. Senyal.
Something we can ask. He would say, and I'd almost guarantee this, it would depend on the matchup.
Yeah, I think that's what he would say.
I don't think he would say, oh, yeah, we're going to do it like this no matter what. So definitely something that might be a good question for him on his Friday Zoom press conference. I believe Missouri State won the toss this year, or in the first game, and elected to receive. So the emailer got his wish against Missouri State, but I'm sure he's referring to better opponents. Doesn't really matter against Missouri State. So, yeah, I guess maybe we'll see what they do if they win one, and then we can go from there.
Cool. Our next one, Dear Ryan and Triple Double, number 1. If we're asked to characterize SC's performance on Saturday in 2 words, it would be these: shocking speed. What would be your 2-word characterization? You can cheat and take 3 if you want. And 2, am I the only one who was really annoyed with Lincoln Riley's poor clock management at the end of the first half? It ended up working out for him in the end with Eli Sanders' incredible 73-yard touchdown run, but I think that essentially masked some poor decision-making by Riley. Statistically, Riley could have called at least 1 timeout, and there's no way Riley knew Sanders would break off a 73-yard touchdown at that point. Thoughts? Beat the Eagles, Steve and Poway. Sorry, Steve.
We talked a little bit about this Sunday. It was an example, Eli Sanders taking that 73 yards, the pass to the house, of just USC having better players. Like, that was a instance where we actually maybe could have taken something away from the game, and then just Sanders just had a home run play because Maeva had too long on an audible earlier, and the 2-minute situation wasn't great, but like, I'm not going to say they failed at that when they scored a 73-yard touchdown. So hopefully we'll get a better answer to that in the future. And then my 2-word phrase for the game, utter dominance.
Good one.
I was going to go effortless dominance, but you could say effortless greatness or perfection or whatever. Like, it didn't look, you didn't put a lot into this, and it just worked out there.
I'll go major beatdown.
I like that. That's good. I don't know if I confused you, India, but I delete them after we read them. So you might have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no problem. Like, I don't know if I deleted the first one and then you went to the third, so I might have.
Oh,
screwed,
no,
I might
no
have
worries.
Screwed you up. Sorry.
No, it's okay. We got a couple more.
Behind the scenes stuff. Sorry, guys.
Peristyle Podcast. I think the Killian over General Reed negative angle is really overblown, especially when you guys aren't at practice daily. I understand Killian may not have NFL measurables at 6'1" or was a 5-star recruit, but he was a 3-time All-Trinity League, and we all know how competitive that league is, and was a Cal High All-State second-team player. He's very smart and does all the right things. I think he's set up to be a very good, solid college center. Congratulations to 2 Orange County guys for cracking the starting offensive line. Good job, Killian and Justin. Ryan Harvey.
Hey, Ryan. So there is an Orange County mafia when it comes to high school football. And if you have like a quarterback from one of those schools, like, oh, it's a Servite guy, like, they back them, and if you're like, oh, there's some 5-star coming in from somewhere else, and they're going to back their OC dudes. We've seen this like for years. So this is definitely, he's involved in the Trinity League, high school football fan, I guarantee you, which is good. And I think there's positives to having a guy that's coming from one of those high schools that maybe isn't the most heralded to come in, as long as they can play. I've had so many parents come up to me and be like, hey, my kid has got this, he was all this league and set a record here. And I'm like, yeah, but can he play at the next level? None of that stuff matters. And O'Connor's shown he can play, and he's done, not just for 1 year, but he's done it the last couple of years where he's like, hey, this is a dude, yeah, he was a walk-on, but he can actually play. So it was cool to see him out there. I think it'll be better to evaluate when we see, better competition. But yeah, I definitely think it's positive when you get guys that maybe are preferred walk-ons or whatever it is from the Trinity League and they actually perform, because that's actually kind of like you recruited that. It's better, to have more guys like that local, I think, to perform. But you can always tell the guys that are big, Orange County Mafia guys.
I'll just say, I don't think when they recruited him, they had him playing in mind, but it's a overwhelmingly positive story. Read what I wrote when he won the job. He is a great kid. He does everything right. The team speaks glowingly about him, more so than any other player on the roster that I've seen. Like, yes, it is a positive story, and I don't mean to spin it into a negative, but the whole point that I've made still stands, I think. When you're in year 4 of Lincoln Riley, you would expect not to have a former walk-on be the starting center. And USC, they had a transfer in Jason Zandamela and other stuff has gone against them. You can't plan for everything. I get it. But the fact of the matter is he has every single intangible. He's still limited. And in that first game, John Ray Reed graded out better than O'Connor did. So I don't mean to sound like an O'Connor hater. I think he can be good, and he won the job fair and square. There's a reason he's out there. It is a good story. But if you just take a step back for a second, I think him winning the job, yes, it's a good story, but I think there's nuance there. It's also like, well, why are they in this position where this guy would win this job? And I think that's a fair question to ask.
Yeah.
And we got one last email. I'm just sending in a note to let you know that I disagree with Don from Chicago, who called in on the Harvey Show recently. I think the Missouri State game was a perfect warm-up for our all-new offensive line, including a former walk-on. They had never played together before and had no real experience. I think the Ole Miss game would have been competitive and a lot of fun, win or lose, had our best O-lineman not moved up to Oregon, our transfer lineman from Purdue not been declared ineligible, and a former walk-on had not beat out General Reed for a spot on the line. That way, you would have had an experienced O-line going up against Ole Miss for a real game and not the potential beatdown that it might otherwise have been. Losing big would have destroyed the O-line's confidence, which our coach gets to build with this easy start. As far as a Coliseum being empty, the days of every week sellout crowds for Trojan games is over forever. Those days existed at a time when USC was great, the NFL had fled, Los Angeles and the Trojans were the only game in town. Frank in Sacramento.
Hey, Frank, not really a question, right? He just kind of gives long statements. That was a longer one for Frank. Don was a caller on the other show, and he was just super negative, said it was worthless. And I totally disagreed on the show. And, it's the same thing. Like, you got a lot of playing time for a bunch of dudes. Just you don't need to take away much from, King Miller looks like he's going to win the Heisman. Like, if you have takeaways like that, no. But it's great that he got carries. It's great that you got to see both centers. It's great that you got to see some of the younger offensive linemen and some of the receivers. And, Tanuk Hines, like, wow, he's fast and he's running downfield and making blocks. Or there's a lot you could get out of this. And, your backup quarterback, Lincoln Riley was focused on getting him some reps. And the fact that he could start the third quarter, big deal. So, I didn't agree with Don. I think there was a lot of, you don't have to love that they won by 60 over overmatched opponent, but a lot of good things came out of that. I think it's going to build up, one more week of tomato can and then get into Big Ten play, and it should be in a better spot by having this kind of warm up.
Yeah, I agree with that. I didn't hear that exchange, so I can just ride with what you said. But it's funny, people get really up in arms about certain topics that are funny.
That's what keeps us in business. Every people get up on arms about stuff.
True.
And then we got some questions in the chat. First one we've got from Blackie Chan Gaming. Let me pull it up. Do you think USC should have been ranked in the top 25 this week after week 1?
Don't really feel strongly one way or the other. I'll say yes, but I don't really think it matters at the end of the day. If they had gone out and beat a Power 4 opponent in a very convincing way, then for sure. It's just all about Missouri State. It's not about USC. It's about Missouri State.
Yeah, and Utah, I think they got into the rankings right after.
No, I don't think they did.
So they should have. People are predicting them to win the Big 12. So some of that stuff is just they filled this out. And it's not going to change until something major happens. Beating UCLA in the Rose Bowl.
Excuse me, they're 25.
Okay, so they just snuck in, but that Utah looks like a top 20 team for sure. The problem with the polls is they just kind of have it the way it is, and you win a little and lose a little, move up and down a little, and that's it. Where if you waited until week 3, you probably, and if Utah's 3-0, you'd probably have them higher. But just because we started them at 35, we can't move them up much further. So. And for USC, you started at 30. They beat a terrible team.
I think moving up one spot is what should have happened.
Yeah. But looking at this team, I think it would be a top 25 team. And it's just the way the rankings work is kind of dumb. But USC will get the benefit of the doubt when you play a real opponent. They'll probably get a bigger bump than they should after, if they go to Illinois and beat them.
Can we see what they look like on the road, though, before we say
we gotta
that
see
for
all
sure?
That, yeah. So the Purdue game should just determine a lot, which is weird, but it should.
And then we've got one from Oscar Huerta. Question: after seeing all the overrated top 25 teams lose in week 1, do you guys find it hard to believe that USC is not in the top 25? I guess we already kind of covered that one. We got one from Clark Kent, Superman. Is it better to open the college football season by playing a cupcake versus playing an out-of-conference elite champion? Can you learn more from the latter even if you lose, Alabama, Texas, Clemson? Thoughts on this?
It's definitely not good to play a good team on the road the first week, as we've seen. Those teams lose a lot. Alabama lost. Texas lost.
LSU won, though.
LSU won, but I think historically someone had a stat that I saw going back 10 years. There's been a team who's gone on the road who's been in the top 10 in the first week every year and lost. So that's a tough spot to be in. I go both ways on it. It's probably better for this USC team to start a little bit of an easier schedule. So I think for this situation, that's better. But like last year, a USC team that didn't end up being very good beat a SEC team in Las Vegas. So it just kind of depends on the matchup to me. What you want to avoid, though, is playing a really, really good team on the road, and I don't think USC will do that anytime soon.
Yeah, you know, the risk is you lose that game. USC took the risk last year and won, but I think it sort of didn't help. Maybe you think you're a little bit better, and I think this team has a little bit more. I mean, there's some humility there. Like, hey, we're 13-11 the last 2 years. Take the cupcakes. USC doesn't play a lot of them, so you get it. I think it works out pretty well where you get to play 2 easy games at home. You haven't been able to win out of this time zone, and you get what was the worst team in the league last year on the road. Now, I think Purdue's better this year. I think Barry Odom, but they're certainly a beatable team on the road. Get that out of the way, and then come home and beat another sort of lower Big Ten team at home, and give yourself a chance to be 4-0 with some different tests. A test at home against the Big Ten, a road test against the Big Ten, and now go into Illinois and try to beat a top 25 team on the road. I think it's built up well. So it could work either way, Clark. But last year, even though USC won, it probably worked against them a little bit because you got a little confidence that you probably shouldn't have. And Rich in San Diego also wrote in, he said he wanted to know the best places area to stay when in Champaign for that Illinois game we're talking about. I'm not sure. We're going to stay in Chicago and then just drive in for the game. But so we'll let you guys know. We're going to do some Friday meetups at these road games, but we're going to probably stay in the big city and not in the college town just because we have to get in there and work, and then we'll get out.
Nice. We've got another one from Blackie Chan Gaming. Do you think this weekend USC will finally establish a number 3 wide receiver?
Tough to tell. I mean, it's Tanu Kynes right now, but he only had the 1 catch.
Yeah.
Not that it was his fault. USC, they just spread the ball all over the place.
Yeah.
So I guess no, because I think you got to do that against a better team. Like maybe someone will have this huge game and then they'll just take it with Jacoby Lane and Mekhi Lemon and they'll be in there moving forward. So I guess it's possible, but I don't really envision that happening. So I'd be surprised if that happened this week.
I agree with you. And I think Chris was talking about on the Helium Boys podcast, he wanted to see someone have like a 5-catch, 60-yard game from the wide receiver. If it's going to go the same way, which I kind of think it will, probably not, this week. I wouldn't bank on that either.
And then we got another one as well from Blackie Chan Gaming. If Chasen is healthy this week, do you think he gets the start?
I don't, but it's possible. I just think he's missed a lot of time, and they're rotating so many guys that to just put him ahead in the pecking order would be a surprise to me. But again, we can't watch practice. If he has a great week of practice, I certainly wouldn't rule it out. So it's possible. I'd be somewhat surprised if he did, but again, they just have so many guys out there along with the Carlos Nicholson. So it's definitely possible, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I agree.
And then we got a comment from Facebook. Thank you to our Facebook viewers. Mike Rust Sr., do you think Riley's coaching up Longstreet to avoid those big hits?
Yes.
He should be.
Absolutely.
He took some big hits.
He took some big shots. The one where his mouth guard came out.
Yeah.
That was a...
You don't want to see that popping out of your quarterback's melon,
No, but I mean...
Next one's a tooth with it, so you don't want that.
What a tough kid. And that's like... One of the takeaways that you can have from a game is like, okay, we've never seen this 5-star quarterback play before, and are there any questions that he's not tough? Like, no, he looked like the toughest guy in the freaking teams. I think that's a great thing. So, you don't want to take unnecessary hits. Sliding is helpful, but like when he got that 3rd down running, when he took 3 Missouri State guys with him, how can you not be excited about that? So that is an example of why these games are important, even though, of course, other games are more important. But you can still take away some stuff, and that's a big one.
Yeah, I think some of the prominent NFL quarterbacks have talked about like it's sometimes you just need to get hit once to start a game to like get it rolling. And Tom Brady might even have said stuff like that, where you just take that first hit and you're like, all right, I'm in it. And Husan Longstreet, it's great to be a 5-star. It's great to go through bowl practices, spring practice, fall camp, but this was actually getting out there. And we saw him take off and run a bunch in practice, and then no one hits you, and now they're hitting you. And like, especially if it's in a blowout win, like, do I really need to do that? But he got to throw a bunch of passes. Still hasn't experienced his first incompletion as a quarterback in college, and but he definitely, took some hits. And next time he might be like, I really want to get out there. And it's like, okay, I want to get out there, but I don't necessarily need to find contact, especially if the game, we're up by 35 or whatever. So, yeah, I think it's a great thing for him. And it'll be interesting to see if he sort of adjusts a little bit where he's just like, yeah, okay, I'm not going out there for the very first time and trying all this. Like, I've done this before. Like, I can take off and run, and I'll run out of bounds or something or slide. I don't need to drag tacklers with me or anything. So we'll see. But, yeah, I think again, very positive that he got to start the second half at quarterback.
All it takes is that one hit, and you're like, all right, I'm not doing that again for a bit. We got one from Thack21. Do you see Gallegos getting more playing time? Love the way he flew downhill to make tackles.
Not this year. The safety room is too loaded ahead of him. Maybe next year, but I don't think we'll see him outside of special teams this year unless it's a blowout.
Marquise Gallegos or whatever, yeah. Just, no.
Let's see. Mark 97. If USC stomps Georgia Southern, do they lose another spot in the coaches poll?
That was so dumb. Like, you can't move down by winning by 60. Like, that's just stupid. The coaches poll makes no sense anyway. Yeah. So I wouldn't put too much stock in it. It's funny. Point from the last question. When we got to watch like all of practice, and sometimes you would have people come out that weren't seeing much, and then they'd be like, "Who's number 44? He looks really good." It would be like some walk on, and you're just like, yeah, it doesn't matter. But he made this amazing play. I'm like, yeah, this is a walk-on at practice. Like, it doesn't matter. And so, yes, you're going to see some guys, because if you win by 60, you score 73 points, you're going to see some dudes that you're never normally going to see and go, wow, I like him. Like, don't worry about it. Like, he's not going to be out there unless there's like 5 injuries. So that's it gave me the feeling of watching the practices when you're like, it's third string versus third string, and someone sees like a great play from some guy. You're like, this isn't going to be a thing. So don't, we could put a note in the practice report like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Joe Smith made 3 guys miss on his, and they're like, oh my God, Joe Smith. I'm like, no, he's not going to play. But there was a lot of that. You guys got to see some of the stuff we would see at the end of the old practices where you're like, yeah, that's great that the team drilled, this guy did something or made an interception or whatever. But no, sorry. I'm not raining on anyone's parade, but that's not going to happen in the Michigan game. So
we got like 6 more questions.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Yeah, they're
we'll rapid fire
active
these
today. Yeah, exactly. Blackie Chan Gaming again. Question: do you think there will be more boos or cheers when fans see Clay Helton? We kind of talked about that again, but final thoughts: boos or cheers?
Booze.
Yeah, if it was boos. Caesar, there's going to be a lot of this.
Yeah, I think boos.
I put my thumb down for the podcast listeners.
Thack21 again. What percentage Chance Riley uses? Oh, we already did that. Oh, yeah, no. Uses Longstreet on occasion to run read option.
No,
I don't think so.
He never does that. He uses one quarterback unless there's an injury or a suspension or something. Like, if the starting quarterback's good and it's a close game, he'll be out there.
Yeah, unless he loses his helmet for a play, and like that's the only reason.
Yeah.
And then from Malone Lombarda, sorry if I butchered your name. If you were taking someone who had never been to a college football game to a USC game, what would be your checklist of things for them to see before and during the game?
Oh.
Definitely walk around campus and just see all the cool tailgating on campus.
Yeah, the band comes from Heritage Hall, and they do like different concerts, so you'd probably want to see that.
Yeah, do the Trojan Walk.
The Trojan Walk over at the Coliseum. So you want some campus time, certainly Coliseum time, for the Trojan Walk. I mean, you can go downtown. Like it depends if it's a night game. Have lunch at like Philippe's or something down there. There's a lot of cool places like Alvarado Street. Like you could get Mexican stuff. There's cool places even around USC now. Like Holbox is like a Michelin guide taco stand, like near the DMV near USC. There's a lot of cool places you could eat. Yeah, depending on the time, but I would check out that stuff. India, is there anything that you
Yeah, as a
well, there is one question that I'm trying to see, where is it? Favorite game day food at the Coliseum? Steven Rarig asked that, and I always love the box of like bucket of cookies that you can get.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
I don't remember what they're called, but every game, like, I had to get those, and so Saturday I'll be at the game, and
They're
I'll
like
definitely get
$30
them.
for a box of cookies.
It's insane, but I always loved, because we always went to the football games with official visits and stuff like that.
So you just,
and so we didn't.
you didn't have to
sometimes
pay for that
like, yeah,
stuff.
we didn't have to pay for it.
That's awesome.
But
yeah, we see it.
yeah, those are
that cookie
delicious.
places
Sometimes
we
I paid
walk
for
by.
it, but it's delicious. It's so worth it. Except it's not good. You want to eat them all if you can there, because I learned the hard way. I took some like to go, and then I went to like warm them up, and they were like rock solid, so they're not good to like reheat. So eat them all there while you can, but they're delicious and absolutely worth every penny. And then Thack 21, again, we've got. Do you see any changes happening on the depth chart?
With people coming back from injury, maybe Jakeem Stewart plays a little more than Floyd, like over Floyd Boucard. I don't know if Floyd was taking Jakeem's reps. Jason Johnson, we've talked about. I don't think so, outside of just injured guys coming back.
Yeah, when we say it's hard to evaluate, like, you can't. No one was going to move up because they performed at that, with that game. I think so. It's more about injured guys coming back.
Yeah.
And then our last question is a great final question from Anthony. Does a wide receiver get the first touchdown Saturday?
Maybe to prove a point after not getting one in the first game. I'm going to go back to Wayman Jordan. I think he'll get the first one again, which I predicted on the Thursday show last week.
You did. I
You
mean, we
did.
all
Good
wanted to
job.
do that.
Well,
too,
sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. First pick in the draft.
Everyone, you just gave yourself the first pick.
Snooze or lose.
Not the first one. I think a wide receiver will score, but I don't think it'll be. But there could be, like, they could take a couple shots, like, from midfield or something. Yeah, I don't know, but I think the safer bet is Wayman Jordan.
That's who I'm going with this week.
Yeah.
But I think Jacoby is going to get a touchdown, and I also think Mekhi Lemon is going to get one too. That's my prediction.
Nice.
I saw a thing in there asking about Walter Matthews. Do we expect him to play? If you didn't play the first game, you're probably not playing the second game. So
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Barring injury, like, everyone pretty much got in, or almost. I mean, a lot of people got in. So more than you normally would get in, unless somehow it's worse against. And I know a lot of fans would like that.
And just a quick note on him. People are always asking us, what's going on with him? What's going on with him? He just hasn't really adjusted well from high school. I wouldn't expect to see him much this year.
Yeah. Cool. Good stuff. How long do we go? Oh, almost an hour and a half there. Yeah. We'll be back on Thursday night. Tunnel Vision, India, Shotgun, and either me or Connor will, like, do Rochambeau or something. We'll figure out. We could Rochambeau on the show. Or do you care which one you want to do?
I guess I don't really care.
Okay. Oh, you'd rather not do Sunday then?
It doesn't matter. We'll
He wants to
figure it
watch his
out.
Patriots.
Okay, I mean, I still can watch him.
You could do it tomorrow then if you want. You can do the show.
We'll figure it out.
Okay. But yeah, we'll be back. And then Sunday night, coming after the game, we'll break it all down. Riley will be back in studio, and we'll get Shotgun again, and then one of us as well. But it's been great. We got a lot of people live on YouTube
thank
and
you.
Facebook. Appreciate
Thank you guys.
jumping in, and nice job again, India. Like, you can give yourself applause if you want. Yeah, give yourself.
I was
some.
going to do it for you guys, but
Oh,
thank you.
yeah. Thanks to the fans out there. I know this is an important game. I'm curious if it impacts the attendance, if people just want to come, like, see a train wreck or something. They just want to. And, yeah, I get it. Like, I've dealt with a lot of the fans' frustration over the years. Completely understand. You want to do whatever you want. Like, you be the fan you want to be. If you don't want to boo them, don't boo them. If you want to boo them, boo them. If you want to root for 100-0,
That's what I'm
root
doing.
for it. Yeah.
I'm going to see
I
a
don't-
Trojan beat down on Georgia Southern.
Yeah, I
I want it
wouldn't-
80 points.
I wouldn't blame you for any of that stuff. All right. Well, I think I'll wrap it up. That's Connor Morrissette. We call him Triple Double. India Otto. What was your nickname? Sharpshooter? Or what?
I had a lot of nicknames. Most people, I'll actually give this tea to everybody. Everybody always called me Otto because my freshman year we had another India on the team. So we tried India, we tried Indy, and it was just too confusing. So I was like, I'll just go by Otto. So literally everybody in the USC community refers to me as Otto. I think literally some people didn't even know my first name was like India.
Oh, wow.
So I had a lot of names. Automatic was one, like Automatic from
I like
3.
it. Yes.
Autobot, like different people called me different things, Aughts. But yeah, Otto usually was like the main nickname for sure.
All right, for Autobahn, this is right. Did they get that one, or did I just make that one
No,
up?
that was a new one.
Oh,
That was a
there we
new
go.
one.
See,
I had so many.
I'm Ryan Abraham. Hope you guys all enjoyed the show. Thanks for tuning in.